I just got back in from doing yard work outside, so if I'm sweaty, I apologize. I have a push mower and a scythe to do my yard, so you can do the math on why that may suck sometimes. Today I'm gonna talk to you about the Canon M6 Mark II. I recently took a trip to the Olympic Peninsula at Olympic National Park in Ho National Rainforest. I went up there originally to see family, and then we took a 3-day trip and stayed at Lake Quinault Lodge. And this camera right here and these two lenses, the 22mm f2, a 35mm field of view equivalent, and this 15-45, which is about a 24-70 equivalent. This is a kit lens, by the way, that after using this and with the kind of success I've had with kit lenses from every system except for Panasonic because I haven't used it yet, I have a great theory and just idea about kit lenses and why you should pick one up. But this little camera right here checked all the boxes for me. I wanted something that was, you know, gonna deal with weather good enough. This did. I went to an actual rainforest. It was raining the whole time I was there, and this camera did more than enough and held its own. Getting wet, in waterfalls, in actual downpour, on trails, this camera did it. The resolution, I think it's 32 megapixels, did fantastic. The low light was very good, up to ISO 2400. Did not have any issues whatsoever with bad grain, any banding, even at 3200 in the morning. I forgot my tripod, and so this and this, you know, 15-45, which is like a 3.5 to 6.3 zoom lens. This is all that I had, and these did great. There was never really an issue with low light. And of course, the size is what really sells it for me. Smaller than your cell phone. Of course, my hands are large, but this is the way it looks in my hand. And this has honestly been the camera that I've kind of switched to do all of my photo work. And I've been using it for a while for this when it comes to the digital end. Now, this little guy right here, this EVF, is an add-on. It's not the original body, so this is something you can take out like a Ricoh GR3, very small. It's got a flippy-uppy screen, which is great for me whenever I'm trying to shoot landscapes and stuff and want to get a little bit of a down angle. But this package is so well built, everything in this works, and I got this all together for $700. So this kit lens, this little lens right here, 22 f2, which is mad sharp, and of course this body, an extra battery, and this EVF for $700 because the dead system from the camera or Canon EF-M line. Canon does not support this line anymore with new lenses, nor does it add any software updates or anything like that. But similar to old DSLRs like a Nikon D700 or a Canon 5D Mark I or even a 5D Mark II, just because something isn't being supported doesn't mean it can't work well past its age. I think the D700 was released in around 2008. And that's still a camera that, by the way, if you're in the market for your first ever camera, I'd recommend that one. That's a camera I'm probably going to pick up because I always love the colors coming from it, and the image quality is nice at 12.1 megapixels. But just because a camera is old, it may not be supported in the way that these new mirrorless cameras are, doesn't mean that it's bad. And this is a mirrorless camera from Canon. This is Canon's first foray into mirrorless. It has dual pixel autofocus, like I said, 32 megapixels. With it, and the autofocus system is fantastic. I never really missed a shot, never had to worry about missing a shot. If people were moving, it does have tracking. I mean, Canon really did do a great job with this. because Canon has the issue of not wanting to cannibalize their DSLR system and make people go away from spending extra money, they did a horrible job with advertising for the system and lens rollout for the system. This 22f2, I think the 32 1.4, I think those are the fastest lenses, and those are the only two primes that honestly, those might be the only two primes, except for the 28 3.5, which is a macro lens that is a 2-time macro and has a light ring built in. It is actually a really good lens. Hear nothing good about it, might pick up that as well. But beyond those lenses, the lenses are slow, they're plasticky, well built, even though they feel plasticky. Not even feel plasticky, they're plastic, but they don't feel like it. But beyond that, they only came out with, I think, 8 lenses in maybe over a couple, almost 15 years. And you have some third-party support from Viltrox, from Sigma, from Tamron. And honestly, I love this form factor, love the way it feels, and I feel like if it wasn't for Canon so worried about the perception of being professional and so worried about their perception for the longest time of, if you don't get our DSLR bodies, you're not a pro, I feel like they could have had something really well with this struck gold and probably really given Fujifilm a run for their money and made them develop in other ways. The images coming out of this are great. The monochromes out of this are fantastic as well. The build quality is top tier. Honestly, this thing is maybe the size, and it has a grip right here, maybe the size of an XE3, maybe a little bit smaller, XE4 actually, maybe from the height wise. Even with this EVF, it's not that bad. This is about the size of maybe an XT50. And the build quality feels better than recently what's been put out by Fujifilm. But this is one thing that kind of bothers me about Fujifilm, is the fact that the cameras and the lenses that have been brought out, you can tell that they're going to cheaper bodies whenever it comes to their consumer line, because they're trying to do the Canon and Nikon and everyone else system of all the best for our best, because that's what is priced the highest, and everything else can just kick rocks and eat shit. And that's how it feels whenever I pick up this camera and I feel not the heft, but the denseness of it. I feel these lenses and how they focus and how they operate, the EVF and how clear this is for how small this is, and even their kit lenses. This camera is great and the images are great. I spent, like I said, time in a national rainforest, national park. That's something we like to do. And these mountains and landscapes, pine trees, all these things that we're seeing, I mean, it is so green, it's so beautiful, so wet, but it is one of the most diabolically gorgeous areas in my life that I think I've ever seen. Because it's just so different and it's so rich and green, and the colors and the tones and the animals and the smells, I mean, it's just amazing. And the camera did a great job of capturing that. I took this with me and my cell phone, and I took one film camera, the Canon 6, so that I could take some portraits of family, which I never even got to. Brought with me the Canon M6. This is a 14 to 45 kit lens, unreasonably sharp for what it is. 32 megapixels, not weather sealed. Got a 22 f2 in here. Got some film, Portrait 400, doing family portraits, as well as some Ilford XP2 that I'll rate at 800 to 1600. Of course, the Canon 6, beauty right here. Some extra things, gloves, sunglasses, Kindle, little recorder, and yeah. This is the Low Pro Tactic 3W. 350 AW, a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. And on the front, I brought with me, and I got all my cables and stuff like that, these nice pouches. That's why I like this bag. V&D, some extra stuff, bandages, everything like that. Marker for marking push and pull of film. And then flint starter, some camping stuff I never took out, but pretty good setup.
gonna hate work on Tuesday. How the sun peeks out from it, you know what I'm saying?
This camera is really just damn excellent at everything. I mean, it's absolutely excellent at everything. The images from this are beautiful. The file size is fine. It's 32 megapixels. It's not taking up too much space, but the battery life was great. It had USB-C. I got to figure out how old this thing is. It had USB-C in it. So I was able to, I forgot my extra battery. I was able to just charge it with my USB-C portable pack, and it charged up real quick. I only had to do that one time in a trip that I shot maybe over 3,000 photos on, which to me is bonkers. It has 4K video in this, 24 frames per second, 4K video, dual pixel autofocus in 4K, no crop whatsoever, which I'm not gonna shoot much video with this, but if you're someone who likes to run a gun, maybe you're, making a channel or you're doing tutorials or something like that, like this is a great overhead camera, anything like that. I mean, honestly, it's just a great A camera. And that's the thing that gets me about this camera is how fantastic it is, and everything that I was doing, it kept hitting the mark. I was worried about, okay, well, the size is great, but the image quality may not be. No, 2400 ISO, clean as a whistle. 3200 ISO, not that much noise, and the noise wasn't a weird color shift. There wasn't a weird color pattern. It was just natural looking noise. And listen, when you're shooting anything, film and you're pushing it, digital cameras and you're pushing them, there's gonna be grain, there's gonna be noise. You have to live with that. You have to get over it. But the noise on this thing was simple. I mean, it was easy to add a grain from the grain machine on Lightroom and blend it in basically and make it look like, oh, it's kind of filmic. And I did that quite a few times. Some shots that I made black and white because I messed up exposure myself, because I didn't shoot it in auto the whole time like a dumbass, or aperture priority the whole time like a dumbass. The film simulation that I kind of made for, I wanted to look kind of like T-Max. I had a little bit of grain and it looks great. It looks natural. No one would be able to tell a difference. If I told you I took my Nikon F3 and shot Kent Mirror, 400 push 2 stops, you would probably believe me. But yeah, it's just a great camera. It's got 2 custom modes, a C1 and C2, a dedicated movie mode. It's got the full PASM kind of situation going on. Multiple function buttons that you can do things like map, face tracking. It doesn't have IF. One of the things I loved about this camera, honestly, the thing that I love the most about this camera, and I've never used it in another camera and I actually stumbled upon it, is whenever I was shooting and I had my eye up, here, being able to change your focus point by just rubbing where you want on the back. It's so small, my hands are so large that I'm able to reach across the whole thing, full coverage, and I'm able to select my focus point and then shoot. I have it set to back button autofocus, and it worked great. Auto white balance worked fantastic, although I kept it mostly on daylight. That way I could change it in post. But it did work great. The focusing modes, they have multiple different ones. Of course, wide tracking, zone, face detect, and subject tracking where you tap something and it'll follow it through the frame. It's just an all around, it's just wild that this camera is better than the EOS R in every way, except it doesn't have the 8-bit log and it doesn't have a full frame sensor, and that's a no-go to a lot of people. And of course the lenses. But they do make an EF to EFM adapter for this from Canon. There's also one from Viltrox that actually acts as a speed booster as well, 0.71. So while it won't give you the full width of that lens, it actually does help with f-stop. People that are adapting like a 50mm 1.2, which was a common thing to do with this, actually turns it into a like 56-ish millimeter 0.85. That is the dryer, sorry about that. But so you are able to adapt EF lenses. The thing about adapting EF lenses to this is not only the fact that they're larger, Most of the adapters come with a foot. But the thing about adapting EF lenses to this, EF lenses to the EF-M body, is the fact that you don't have a drop off in autofocus performance, is what I've read everywhere. This dual pixel autofocus in this camera actually runs everything so well that, especially the newest glass, it's like using it on a Canon 1DX camera. Here comes my dog. What's up, buddy? It's just it's a really, really, really good camera. A lot of buttons are able to be mapped. It's got 4K video at 24, 1080, I think it's 60. So, you know, if you're doing little things like that, you can actually use the profiles that are in here, monochrome, vivid, whatever, to actually shoot your video. You could even make they have a neutral setting too. It's a great camera. And for $700, this was an excellent kit. Man, yeah, I really, really like this. It punched so high above its weight. The functionality, the extra things you can do with this, the way you can customize it, the flip up screen, which I love. I am not a big fan of the tilty outy screen. The EVF, you know, is so bright and sharp. The be able to drag to focus. It's just a really, really good camera, and I really, really do enjoy it. And so it's one that I really, really do recommend. I know there are going to be a lot of people that are going to bitch and moan like, oh, great, now the secret's out. Now you know, the price is going to go up. Who cares? Just buy the camera. If you're worried about the price going up, buy the camera immediately after you get this. If you're saving up for it, you'll have to save up more. I don't care about prices going up on cameras because that's going to happen regardless. Someone's going to make the video. Someone's going to write on Fred Miranda about it. People are just going to buy it. But I've seen these cameras go for as low as $400. Right now, there's one on Facebook Marketplace for this same kit build out for $600 in the silver version, and no one's buying it. So the whole idea that we complain about, oh great, now this gem's out. Well, do you want people to use a good camera or not? And are you going to buy 90 more of these or not? Get over it. Take it light, but take it. Have a good one.